Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Jacob Payton and today I'm going to be talking about Frenzy by Robert Lettrick. Let me hope I didn't just butcher that last name. This cover is awesome. It is one of the reasons I bought this book. I saw this book, it was either on Book Outlet or at a thrift store. I'm not 100% sure, I don't really remember, but once again it was the cover that grabbed me. Something else kind of cool to note, this is actually published by Disney's own Hyperion line, which I thought was pretty neat considering that this is a horror book where children die. Now, I do know that Disney has made horror movies in the past, and even not like violent horror movies, but you know, ones that did have stakes of a sort where it was implied that not everybody made it at the end. So it was really fun to see them put out something like this, and definitely a reminder that it seems to be that horror in many ways is kind of making a comeback. Even though this was published in 2014 and I think he put out another book in 2015, we currently live in a time where, I mean, Christopher Pike books are being made into movies. I think Netflix just announced they're doing like 3 Fear Street movies, and Are You Afraid of the Dark is back. So there's a lot going on, and it's neat to kind of see what Disney's going to do going forward. There's definitely a couple things I can think of that I would like to see them bring back. I wouldn't even, you know, I wouldn't hate to see this made into a movie. This was pretty neat. Now let's dive into this book. It says, Camp Harmony, a place to relax, swim in the river, and stage epic water fights. A time to admire the outdoors. That was how Heath Lambert wanted to spend his summer. But nobody told him that he would spend it running for his life. Almost every animal in the surrounding forest, thousands of them, from squirrels to wolves, has gone on the attack. Even the camp's horses. If Heath and his friends are to stay alive, they have only one place to go. But getting there is just half the battle. So, this book was kind of weird. But it was weird in a good way. It was very pulp horror, at least in the way things played out, at least in my opinion. And there was also a lot of unanswered questions at the end, especially when it comes to the contagion that was released that turned all the animals basically into zombies or zombie-ish creatures. Every animal, whether it was on the camp or in the forest, even the birds decided that they were going to attack humans. I think different variations of this plot have been done before, but I don't think any of it's ever been done in a summer camp setting and around kids. So I thought that was fun. Also, as I've mentioned earlier in this channel, anything that takes place in summer camp, I will give a try. You know, summer camp settings, that's where I put on my nostalgia glasses. I'm 100% in. You know, even when it comes to movies, I'll watch Meatballs, I'll watch the Ernest Goes to Camp movies, any of it. I'm about it. I love things that take place in summer camp, whether it's, you know, feel-good comedy or horror. So that part of it, I really liked. It also had, I felt like, a lot of stereotypes, but not in a bad way. It just kind of filled out, you know, the summer camp movie stereotypes. It had the kind of nerdy loner kid, who actually in this book turned out to be somewhat of a bad guy. And then, you know, it had like the bullies and the popular girl. And then it even had like the horse girls, which, you know, they went to a camp where they had horses, which I never went to, but I heard of people going to, so that was pretty cool. Not cool from them, because the horse basically becomes a murder monster very early on. I don't know. I don't really want to shit on too much of this. I did like this book. I want to get that out there. There is a point where there's this big buildup that they're going to make it to the river and all these kids die. Like, not all of them like main character wise, but a bunch of kids die between the outbreak and them getting to the point to where they might make it into the river. And that was, you know, so there's this big buildup, but then when they get into the river, that part of it actually drags very much. And it also comes out that the animals that are infected, for whatever reason, they don't like water. Almost like animals with rabies will kind of stay away from it. So that was a fun plot device, and definitely saved them from things like, you know, beavers and otters, and other muskrats, animals that live in North America and don't care about getting wet and can actually swim quite well. So that was a fun plot device that definitely kept the group alive as they made their way down the river. However, I did find that the river scenes very much kind of they dragged. If you understand what I'm saying, it was just kind of like once they got in the river, a lot of that tension was let out. And then there was a lot of dialogue of basically them just complaining about being in the river. The part where they get attacked by, I think it was like birds or bats, was pretty neat. And that added some tension, don't get me wrong. But then there was like some stuff about, you know, them basically slightly uncovering the fact that the government may have been behind this, or the military, and that the nerdy kid who was very like, not even just antisocial, he was very almost like sociopathic. As long as he wasn't the one dying, he wasn't afraid to offer someone else up to make his escape. A fact that actually gets him called out several times by Heath and some of Heath's friends. But that never really gets explained, and I just don't really feel like the military thing or the government thing, you know, it didn't have much to do with it, because it wasn't like it was a neat little, I guess, backstory part, but after so much had been established that the contagion seemed to be random and the kids didn't know what was going on. Because the thing, kids aren't gonna... If a bunch of kids at summer camp woke up tomorrow and animals started attacking them, and their only goal is to just get away from these animals and get to town, they're not, you know, gonna happen upon a military base and piece together this is what happened. They're gonna be scared and probably just continue towards this town where people can help them solve this stuff. Because at the end of the day, the fact that whether or not the military released it or the government released it or whoever released it or it was a private project, it still doesn't change the fact that these kids are in serious trouble. And I do believe that most of it ends with Rain basically helping stop it, because I don't remember if the water kills them or it makes them... The water did something bad to the animals. I think it actually killed them. So that kind of felt like a letdown if all they had to do was wait for it to rain. However, that being said, you do really get attached to these characters. This is the good part. The good part is all the characters are very dynamic and interesting, even the ones that are supposed to be more like cliche or stereotypical camp characters. They are still very interesting, and they are very much their own people. A lot of the early dialogue, minus the dialogue in the river, and even the dialogue after the river, I thought was really good. It's very snappy. I thought there was a lot of real good depictions of this age group as someone that, you know, still has younger cousins and, you know, people in their family that are of this age group. It was really interesting to see that play out. It didn't feel like how some authors who are writing YA books, especially for like more like middle grade readers, almost seem to talk down to them, or at times the banter isn't really, it's not real kid banter. It almost feels, but on the other hand, the dialogue in this book, it felt real. These felt like real kids every step of the way, minus the one that was really smart. I still don't really understand what his deal was, but he was honestly at times scarier than, you know, the actual crazed animals that they were locking doors and barricading doors against. Because he was like straight up one of those kids off of that show, what is it, like A&E, like Kids That Kill? Like, he was not to be trusted. Yeah, he worried me more than the monstrous animals did. I thought Heath was a very good protagonist. He was, you know, he was a kid. He wanted to do kid stuff, but at the same time, he kind of assumed this leadership role because he didn't like to see people get pushed around, and therefore kind of made it his job to keep everyone together. And I did appreciate that. Like I said, I really like this book. I'm going to be interested to see what Disney does with it. And Robert Lettrick released another book under Disney's Hyperion imprint, I think in 2015, called like From the Murk or Up from the Murk, which is another book that takes place in your body of water. I think it was like a swamp or something like that. I read like a very brief description of it, so I don't want to to put out like a bunch of mistruths about it, because I haven't read it yet and I'm not 100% sure. But I am interested in reading it because, once again, I did like this book. I thought it was very nicely paced, besides the river scenes. It was a really fun book. I would love to see it become a, you know, Disney Plus original movie, if they're even doing such a thing. But if you like books about animals going crazy, or books for younger readers that are more horror than, you know, fantasy or science fiction or any of that sort of stuff, then definitely check out this book. I think you'll like it. And yeah, if you agree or disagree, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, please like and subscribe. And until next time, I'm Jacob Payton. I will see you guys later.